Hey Rams, this is your Thursday, May 6th homework. Number 1, a florist uses 160 roses and 42 tulips to make 5 identical flower arrangements. How many roses would the florist use to create 8 identical arrangements? This is a proportion problem. It gave you a given ratio and then asked you to make a prediction. So I'm going to have 3 columns because I have roses and tulips, and then the number of arrangements. The number of arrangements so that it makes. Okay, so I use 100, or a florist uses 160 roses for every 42 tulips and to make 5 flower arrangements. And I want to know how many roses if we make 8 arrangements. Okay, now a couple ways we can do this. We don't know the scale from 5 to 8, which we could figure it out. It would be a decimal. But I can scale from 5 to 160 because I know that 160 ends in a 0, so 5 is going to go into it. Okay, so I have 160 divided by 5. Can't go into 1. It can go into 16 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract to get 1. 5 into 10, 2 times. That means our scale is times 32, and whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So we're going to multiply 32 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. And that means there are 256 roses in 8 arrangements. D. Number 2, a going out of business sale has the entire store marked 80% off. Which of the following is equivalent to 80%? Okay, if I have 80% as a decimal, you move it 2 places to the left, and you get 0.8. Okay, so as a decimal, that takes B out, that takes D out. Now I need 80% as a fraction. So if I have 8 tenths right here, that's 8 tenths. And you can reduce that by 2 over 2, and you get 4 fifths. Not 3/4. And 3/4 is a quarter, or not a quarter, it's 3/4, and 3/4 is 75 cents, or 0.75 hundredths. So C is your answer. 3, what number does the model best represent? Okay, this is a hundreds grid. You can count them as well. You have 10 by 10. That means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 complete rows, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 85 squares colored. So if it's 85 out of 100, that is 85%. Not 75%, not 80 out of 100. It's 85 out of 100. So we need to know, is 17/20ths or 16/20ths equal to 85%? Okay. So what I can do is what I would do, we have 85 out of 100, because I know my denominator needs to be 20, I'm going to create an equivalent fraction out of 20. To get from 100 to 20, you divide by 5. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Divide by 5. 85 divided by 5. 5 into 8 once. Subtract and get 3. 5 into 35, 7 times. So our answer is going to be 17 out of 20, or A. Robert wrote a check for $187. He did not balance his checkbook correctly and only had $175 in his checking account. The bank paid the check, but also charged Robert a $35 insufficient funds fee. That means he did not have enough money. What was Robert's balance after the bank charged the fee? Okay, so what are we starting out with? We start with $175. And then we need to subtract $187 from that. But if I just set it up and subtract, I'm going to, like if I have 175, I need to subtract 187. Or we're going to, well, it's hard to explain, because if I set it up like that, we can't subtract that way. I know I'm going to get a negative number, so I'm going to put my 187 on top, and my answer is going to be negative. Okay, 7 minus 5 is 2. 18 minus 17 is 1, so 12. But I know that I don't have $12. I have negative $12. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, so now we have negative $12, and we have to subtract 35 more. Okay, which is also the same thing as adding a negative. So 2 plus 5 is 7, 1 plus 3 is 4. I know that I have negative $47. So sometimes when you are setting it up, it doesn't make as much sense, but conceptually, you know you didn't have enough money, you know you're going to the negative, you are going farther negative, so a larger number that is negative. $47. Number 5. Kelly collected data on the number of school spirit shirts sold over a 4-month period. She created a graph using the data. Which of the following statements about Kelly's graph is accurate? Okay, so it's talking about what is going to go on the X and the Y axis. Months are on the X axis because time is independent value. This is true. Anytime you set up a graph, your time is going to be on your X axis because time does not depend on anything. Time stands alone. It is independent always. Months are going to be your independent value on your X. Okay, number 6, the box plot shown below represents the grades for a math assessment. Based on the dot plot, well, this is a box plot, ignore that. Which statement is inaccurate? So we're looking for which one is not true. The median of the grades is 70. So when you're looking at a box plot, it's the dot that's in the middle of the box. So it may not be the direct center, but it's the dot that's in the middle of the box. And it is at 70. So that is true. The range is twice the length of the interquartile range. So your range is your maximum minus your minimum. So I have 85 minus 55. It's going to give me 30. So my range is 30. And my interquartile range, or between my quartiles, quartile 3 minus quartile 1, I have 80 minus 65. I get 15. 30 is 2 times 15, so this is true. My range is twice the length. See, the graph of the grades is symmetrical. So looking at this full box plot, is it symmetrical? This length is not the same as that length. This is not directly in the center. It is not a symmetrical graph. And then let's check to make sure. It says the upper quartile of the data is 80. That's this mark right here. That is true. Answer is C. And lastly, number 7. The total number of eggs Y contained in X cartons can be represented by the equation Y equals 12X. Which of the following graphs best represents the situation? Okay, this is a multiplicative relationship, so you know it has to go through the origin. That takes out D. It is not going through 0, 0. So now, we can create a table and have our X and Y points. So if we know to get from X to Y, we are multiplying by 12. That means if X is 0, Y is 0. That tells us it goes through the origin. If X is 1, 1 times 12, Y is 12. So you're looking at when X is 1, so when X is 1, Y is at 12, which means we need a point right here. It is at 1, 6. Not what we want. B, when it's at 1, needs to be at 12. That's right here. It is not there. And C, when it's at 1, it's at 12. And that is what we want. So your answer is C.